The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello.
Hello. One more show of the table topics, and with me, John. How you doing, John?
Good. How about yourself?
Good.
Good.
I
good.
just had a show, the Amigos, the Portuguese show, and our guests today was Callie Souza Young.
Oh, okay.
She's from the elections. She's in charge of all that, the election office, and we went through the censors, and we went through the questioning of the mailing by mail, voting by mail.
Yeah. Is this
Go ahead.
the voting by mail? Is this the first year Massachusetts has done it?
Yes. Yes, they have absentee voting, but voting by mail is, and the numbers are pretty high.
Yeah. Well,
She has 7,200 people registered to vote by mail.
Okay.
The question is, are those people really going to vote?
Yeah. Huh. Well, why don't you take us through the process? Because whenever I'm reading this across the country, I would think that you would, if you want to get this mail-in voting, that you would start it in a year that we wouldn't have like a national, election. I would think it would be better to do it during local to see how it kind of fares out. But could you give us like what is the process?
One of the questions that we asked was Crystal. As a matter of fact, asked her if this is not like a big. It's not going to be a bigger event this year to have this done, and how confident she is that this is going to work. So according to her, she says that the state of Massachusetts still has the old process of registering by mail. So what that means is they back up with paperwork.
Okay.
So since they send the application out until the person actually votes by mail, they go through a process to identify and to recognize the person, that person is not registering to vote by mail, and then actually walking to a booth for a second vote.
Okay.
And she says that the state of Massachusetts is very, she likes the process because they still don't abandon the paperwork. So the paperwork still goes to the booths, to the tables of voting, so they can back up anybody that actually goes to vote if they already voted by mail.
Okay. So basically, say I voted by mail, my ballot is going to be put in at where I go to Laterno School. My ballot is going to be brought to Laterno and put into the machine there.
Exactly. So what happens is, if you vote by mail, your name will have a sticker in front of your name that you already voted by mail.
Yeah.
So if you go in to try to vote again, the list will say that you already had voted.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, those votes are brought in by the police department, and they are putting into the machine on the day of the voting.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. I'm just looking at what's happened. If you see what happened in New York City, they still don't have results from an election back in June. So,
Hmm.
and they had the mail-in thing here. So I think it's, with anything that you do in life, you have to practice it a few times before you get it right. I
Hmm.
just wish, like, the states across the U.S. would have done this during a local election a few times, because New York's instituting this, and they had a local election and they couldn't get it right. I guess like 20% of the ballots were thrown out. And then
Hmm.
there were ballots that were sent in with no postmark on it. So you don't know if they were actually sent in prior or after the date. And they went to court on it. And the judge said, count the ones that came in with no postmark. To me, that's wrong. If you can't
Yes.
verify when the thing came in. So I just wish this would have been settled. This is what the new policy is nationwide. This is what you got to follow. I understand states have rights, but when you're in a
Well, it
national
is.
election,
It is a big difference because, according to her, the last election, only 3,900 people actually voted.
what do you
What
mean?
she said that comes up to 14%.
Okay. Okay. So
14%. She said it was about 3,900 votes. 3,900 votes just now to register by mail. It's over 7,000.
yeah. So somebody that wants to vote by mail, they've got to contact the elections office, and they'll send them out a vote by mail thing, because
Yes.
I know that I got correspondence that said, if you want to vote by mail,
Yes.
this and this. So basically, they were sending this out to people all over the place, which
Hmm.
that's something that I don't, what I mean? You wonder, what if someone's not living there, somebody died? What's going to be the
Hmm.
check for that if someone dies and the person sends in the ballot?
Well, matter of fact, I give her an example. I said, okay, let me put you this example.
Yeah.
This year, we moved in January. We moved to New Hampshire,
Yeah.
but we still registered to vote in Fall River.
Yeah.
So eventually, whoever was living in my house is going to get my 4 envelopes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's going to happen if those people returned my envelopes
Yeah.
that I'm going to vote?
Yeah.
To start, they are breaking the law,
Yeah.
and according to Young, I mean, could be jail time, could be fine, but that's not. But that's not the point. The point is now that I am in New Hampshire, I'm going to walk into a voting booth in New Hampshire to vote.
Yeah.
And she said, well, when that happens is we will be informed that you're voting there, because we will have our states are connected, and we will be able to verify who's going to be voting by mail and who's going to be voting in person.
That doesn't make
So
any sense.
according to her, she says it will not be possible for me to have voted twice.
Well, how are they going to know if I voted in New Hampshire and then somebody else voted here for me? How are they going to know that?
I
You know what I
guess
mean?
I guess
This is what I have a problem with this whole thing. That I don't think the verification is there. So, like, for example, I got a ballot for someone that doesn't live here anymore. Now, I could have sent that ballot in. You know what I mean?
yes.
Sign that person's name, and then when I
Mhm.
get the thing back, send it in. This is what I mean about the whole voting by mail thing. They're not going to know. It's going to take months. If they don't do an audit of all this, you're going to be able to have voted in New Hampshire and Massachusetts if you moved.
Mm.
So that's the thing. I don't have
Well,
we have paper ballots here, Carlos. We have paper notes here for all this stuff. So I don't
yes.
have a lot of confidence that we're going to
Well,
find
but
we're
here's the thing: if I was going to vote in New Hampshire,
yeah
eventually I was going to have to register myself in New Hampshire to be on the list
yeah.
to
But how
vote in
long?
New Hampshire. So when that happens, that the Fall River will be notified that I am no longer be voting in Fall River.
Yeah, I hear you, but can you see that this could be a big issue? Can you see
No,
this could
I
be a
mean,
big
could
issue?
be, and like Young said, you know, I mean, um, no system it's perfect.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a mistake. We're
Yeah.
not gonna have we're not gonna have thousands of mistakes. You know, we don't have like 100,000 people voting, but probably one will fall through the crack. It's one or two really gonna make that
I
big a difference.
well, look what happened in New York City and New Jersey. You know, if you don't watch, if you don't read different newspapers or different things, like what I look at is different TV channels all across the country, California, the mainstream media will not put this out. So in New Jersey, a city council member was just being prosecuted for voting double or getting other people to vote for him double. You know, all you keep on hearing in this in the media is that this is happens very little. Well, I've already read like 3 or 4 times within the last 2 months that there's been issues with this. So my thing would be, why are we doing this during a national election? Why aren't we doing this during? Why was the big push to do this? I don't know. I hope this is not a repeat of um, the Bush Gore thing back in 2000, where we didn't know who the president was for like a month because they were going back and forth to court. I foresee that probably happening. Because it just doesn't seem like they have a handle. Personally, with voting, I think when you go in to vote, you need to show an ID. Every other place
Mhm.
you go in this country, when you want to buy something or get into somewhere, you have to show an ID. Why don't we have to show an ID when we vote? Everybody has an ID. That whole thing of some people can't afford an ID, everybody has an ID. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Unless it's a homeless person. And even them, I'm
Yes.
sure they can get things. So I don't understand why verifying this stuff is a big deal. You know what I mean? I just don't get it. But I'm sure we don't have a lot of control over it. I mean, in this state of Massachusetts, it's not going to matter because it's whoever the Democrat is running, even if it was Satan himself, he would win anyway. So in this state, it really doesn't matter because we're in a very blue state. So
Well, I'm going to be surprised because I'm waiting for because the city of Fall River voted Trump
no, no, he got a decent percentage, but Hillary Clinton won in the last election. Sorry.
in Fall River. I thought
Yes.
that the majority of Fall River voters
No,
were
we
Trump.
no. The Hillary Clinton won. What happened was, it was the highest percentage, I guess, like in Fall River history, was somebody voted for like a Republican. But no, he did not. He did not win in Fall
Oh,
River. He got a higher percentage. Hillary got a lower percentage. Normally, she would get 80%. The Democrat would normally get 80% of the vote. Where this time, I think she got like 50% of the vote, but she still won.
mhm.
So yeah, times are changing. I just think with everything that's going on in this country right now, to do this now, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. We got enough turmoil between the coronavirus and the economy. Um, Now to have an election too, it's just crazy. But anyway,
Yeah.
it is what it is, my
Uh,
friend.
yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the elections actually going. Um, the good thing is, I mean, if 7,000 people register to vote, I hope they actually going to vote because if that's the case, the 7,000 plus the 3,000 that voted last time will put us like in the 10,000 votes, which will be a very good number of votings for the city.
Yeah,
I just hope that it's not just for this election that these people are registered and interested in voting and then just leave it alone. You
yeah,
know, but um, one of the things that it's interesting too is the fact that 7,000 people uh, just vote by mail. We probably lose some of those 3,900. You know,
probably.
so the number because I hope 10,000 will vote.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Well, Carlos, were they new people, new voters? Are they just people that voted for mail by mail? They want to vote by mail, or is it new
They
people?
want to vote by mail.
Okay.
She
Okay.
then specifically told me this is voters that just choose to vote by mail. She just mentioned, but I mean, not everybody's gonna go and vote by mail. I know a lot of people that say no. I mean, the best part of the voting is actually go and vote. You know, I mean,
It's the
we
whole it's the whole scare of the virus, but you know, everybody's going to the stores and getting back to life. So even if we
and,
got back to
and you
even
know
if it
something,
picked up, Carlos, right? Even if it
John.
picked up, yeah.
And another thing is, I don't agree to make a holiday for people to go vote.
No, no,
They
no.
will, they will pick that day to go to the beach,
Yeah.
and they're
Oh yeah.
still not going to vote
Yeah. Well,
because you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to shake your hand for you to go to vote.
yeah. No, I know. I know. I
So
hear you.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that too. Another thing that I've been telling the people, and I mean, and coming from a country that don't give you just free money, don't give you free food for nothing. I say, you know, we are giving you money because people actually spend time, go out to vote, so communities can get money to give it to you. And I think the minimum you can do is go out and vote. So that's why I've been saying this for so long. You know, if I'm gonna give you 2 years of food stamps, but election day, your vote it's not in. Guess what? I cannot help you anymore because
Carlos.
actually, you know, actually, these people you have money to go buy food because people go out and vote. They go to work and they get out of work and they go out to vote. And we're giving you food for free because you don't work and you cannot even go and spend 15 minutes and go out and vote.
Hey, have you just recently moved down south or something, or out west? You sound a little conservative.
No,
You
I
live in
mean,
the state. You sound too conservative
it's
to be living in the
you
state.
don't participate. You don't participate. I don't think you should. If you don't work, you think you we're going to give you a piece of the pie if you don't work? I don't
That's
think so.
that's America.
So, but guess what? It's so many people actually getting help, and nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that they don't deserve. I don't think they should. They don't need. Yes, they need. But come on, I think it's the minimum you can do is participate in something that you have a right to, that people fight for. Okay, so you can have the help that you have. Uh, you know, that's why I'm saying, if I didn't see those votes coming in, I agreed. If I don't see those votes coming in, just drop it. Drop it.
But you know what?
You're not there to help us. Why are we going to help you?
Well, let me ask you this. So, say I were to immigrate to Portugal, for example. When I got there, don't I have to show that I have enough resources to support myself? And if I brought my family there, I wouldn't be able to get like a Portugal food card, right? Or would I be able to get housing assistance and any of those things by immigrating there?
I mean, I don't know what the process is right now.
I would
I don't.
gather I would gather if I immigrate there. I've looked this up with many countries. You have to show proof that you have resources to support yourself over the next year or two. However, you know, however long you're going to be, you know.
Well, remember, this is the process. If you call somebody here, if you call your brother here, you're going to be responsible for your brother. Okay, you're gonna be responsible for your brother until your brother gets his American papers.
Yeah, you're
You know,
talking about.
so
Oh, really?
that's that's immigration. That's the process. You are responsible for that member that you're calling into the country. That's
Yeah,
the process.
yeah.
But they are, I don't know, probably it will be something will be something like that. But like you see, you saw by your own eyes. All those guys are sweeping the floor, the streets. Like you can see, like I don't know, in 100 feet, you probably see 2, 3 guys sweeping the floors. Those people are getting help from the state,
Yeah.
but the city is not giving them free money. You
Yeah.
work for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you don't want to work for us. You don't want to be on that suit, cleaning streets. Go find yourself a job, a better job.
Yeah. Oh.
But nothing is for nothing. So that's why. Since we here talking about immigration, and one of the things that I want to touch about is people on green cards.
Okay.
What Callie asked me to actually get in touch with people that are in green cards, and this is a good because maybe we have somebody that called the parents here, or called the brother, sister, or father-in-law, whatever, and they are under a green card. What been happening is when you get your Social Security, you get your green card. You go to the Registry of Motor Vehicles for your license or for your ID. When you fill out the form, if you don't cross the question, do you want to register to vote? If you leave that question blank, the system automatically registers you to vote. Even you're not a citizen.
Okay.
Even you are a green card holder.
All right, so Carlos, that's scary.
So,
That's scary.
Yes, but let me tell you something. But what she says is, then they get in trouble without knowing, because these people don't realize they are registered to vote, and the majority of them, they don't even bother voting because they're not American citizens. But what happens is, when they go for their American papers, the question is there: did you try to vote under a green card holder? And so they don't know they are registered to vote, and they can get in trouble for that. And a lot of times it's not for their fault. It's the system, the way the system are of getting the registration of motor vehicles.
So my thing is with that, then, if somebody checks it off and they go to vote and they're not a citizen here, what things are to stop that? What safeguards do we have in place? Apparently nothing. Again,
No,
right? Nothing.
I mean, it is because they will get caught when they are filing for the American citizenship.
Yeah,
Because
Carlos, that's something. It may happen, it may not happen. This is what I'm getting at. Like things like this, when you hear about elections,
I think they will verify that when you are going for citizenship.
but yeah, Carlos, that's fine. But what do you do with elections? They're not going to go back and recount. How many people does that happen to? How many people, even if you have, say you have 200 or 300 that actually do it, thinking, hey, they registered me to vote, I can go vote for this person. How many times does that happen? It's when some of the things you're telling me now scare me. This really scares me, this whole voting thing. Why isn't the state of Massachusetts fixing that problem if they know it's not right? That's scary. You know?
Yes, because depending, like I said, depending if you leave that question open when you go for your license, and they go and they give you a license, when they process your paperwork, they don't ask you if you want to register to vote. If you leave that question on blank, they automatically register you to vote.
So I blame the state of Massachusetts for doing that. You know what I mean? That's wrong. You know, that's absolutely wrong. They should be correcting that at the state level, and apparently they don't care. So there's another thing. When whenever you go to like a court and someone brings someone to court, if you have things like that and a judge looks at it, if I was a third party as a judge, I'd automatically say, how many times then did people vote? We don't know. You know, the state of Massachusetts, if the election people know in our towns or in Fall River and these different towns about that. Why aren't they changing that? Why? Because there's reason for fraud right there. So there's like number two reasons that this has been probably going on for a while. Elections can be won by one vote. We know that locally. They can be won by one vote. So if someone that wasn't supposed to vote voted, the systems that you lose integrity. The system has lost integrity then. To say that it's fair, you know, and I'm not going off on a tangent.
I mean, I want to put out there for the listeners that are listening to our show, and they have somebody on their family that are green card holders and going through the process, going to go or waiting to go through the process of American citizenship. I recommend them to contact the Office of Elections, and they can verify if they actually register to vote by mistake, by the motor vehicles doing it. Yeah. And they probably don't even realize until they're going to actually file for the American papers.
And if and anybody that would take this to court, I don't see how a judge can do that. Would even let them, if they did vote, they weren't supposed to vote, but they voted, and the state of Massachusetts told them that they could be registered to vote, and then they vote. It's on Massachusetts too. You know what I mean? It's on Massachusetts. I wonder how many cases this has happened, and they won't prosecute because they know the state's wrong by doing this. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying. It's public service. I get it. But to hear stuff like this is just very, very sad to see this is how our systems run here. Very, very sad, you know? But anyway.
It's an advice, and I think that people should be careful, you know, because they can get in trouble. And
eventually, Carlos, what if they never become citizens? What if they decide never to become a citizen? They keep their green card and they continue voting. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just the system needs reforms, and it's scary to hear some of this. They really.
Well, another way to know is if they green card holders and they get information or mail from the elections office, that's a connection that something's wrong, because they're not supposed to get mail from the elections office.
No.
As a green card holder.
Oh yeah, I get it. It's back on the person. I totally get it. But you know, by hearing something like this, I don't have confidence that every city and town in this Commonwealth of Massachusetts is, you know what I mean? They're people. People make mistakes, you know, and they're not going to check.
But that's the thing. And I think this is on the registry of motor vehicles. I think if the person wants to register to vote, had to be a more complicated application form.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That question should not even be there. That question should not be being on that application for an ID or a driver's license. Exactly. That should be a different application if they there and they want to register to vote.
Yeah. You know, I'm a little dismayed by hearing this, because I just think that this next election is going to be a disaster by hearing some of these things. And we're talking one state, Massachusetts. What about the other states that are huge? Florida has 25 million people. California has 50 million people. It's going to be.
A lot of those states have illegals with drive license, because remember, Florida, you don't need a Social Security to have a drive license. So exactly. So what happens is, if that question is on those papers, you know, it's not. They don't even have a Social Security card, and they have a drive license, which, if they don't fill up that question, they automatically become registered to vote.
Welcome to the new America, and I spell it Amerikka.
Very good. And with that, see you next week. Thank you again for another show of Table Topics. See you next week.